right here on the KSR YouTube channel. I am Nick Roush, joined by Adam Luckett at Ferret Field in Missouri.
You calling it Ferret now?
This
We're just calling it. Is that like a dig at Drinkowitz? We're already getting digs in.
the Ferret Field. I don't. How else am I supposed to spell it? Thoreau Field. I didn't know they were French in Missouri over there, but Kentucky escaped with a win. Whew, man, what a roller coaster of emotions. It was a game that looked a lot like many Kentucky games this year, where the offense wasn't great, but they had moments where they did look great. You had the defense play well for really 3 quarters up until that last fourth quarter where they started leaking big
Two
plays.
drives. It was 2 drives. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 drives, and then special teams. You had disasters on special teams, and then you had heroics by Colin Goodfellow in the most improbable fashion possible to melt away the game. That's why I like going to Como, because you get crazy stuff like that to happen when you're at Ferret Field.
Shout out Como, underrated town.
I told you, it's great.
Like, it's fun. Like, we're gonna have to do this big one year. It's great. Like, you need to make the trip. The drive sucks, but it's like legit, like underrated fun. I'm having in Como. But to me, Nick, it's about like 4 things here. Red zone. Kentucky was 3 for 3, 3 touchdowns. You know, you missed some field goals, but when you got down there in the red zone, you finished drives, 2 third-down completions. Right? They get Levis, big plays, Dane Key.
Dane Key made the third down touchdowns, but Jordan Dingle elsewhere was great on third downs. Really was a big difference maker.
Yeah. Again, special teams blunders. Kentucky has a lot of kicking game blunders again, but they weren't the one that made the critical mistakes, right? Missouri, guy drops the snap, tries to run it, sets up a short field. Kentucky goes down, goes up 14-3. Missouri again, Kentucky makes a huge mistake. Missouri bails them out, roughing the punter. So the big, it was a game full of special teams blunders, but Missouri was the team that made the 2 huge mistakes, not Kentucky. That was huge in the game. Dominic Lovett having an all-SEC season, second in the SEC in explosive catches behind Jalen Hyatt. He's their offense. If they can't get him the ball, they're going to struggle. 1 touch today, 0 catches. Tyrell Asian lit him up on a targeting call. It was rightfully overturned. Just totally took away Missouri's best player. So great job by Brad White in the defense. Just at a clinic on defense. And then it's just never easy with Mark Stoops, right? You really should have been up 3 possessions at half, right? You make the field goals, you're up 13-3 at half. Or if you finish with a touchdown, the game's over, right? If you're upset, if you got a 2-touchdown, 17-point lead, feels like the game's over. It's never easy. Offense, the defense has 2 drives, but they come off 3 and outs on the offense. Like, it's not complimentary football. Missouri scores, the crowd's in the game, you come out and go 3 and out. You can't do that. But they figure out a way. It's never easy. They just find a way to win this, and this was the ultimate swing game, Nick. Like, you had to win it, and they just found a way to get it done, and now it's reset. It's come home for a 3-game homestand and see if you can get to that 8-4 with wins over Louisville and Vandy at home, and then take your shot at Georgia when they come into your house.
Oh man, I forgot about the punter dropping that 1 ball too. Like I had it in the final post game post, wrote about special teams, but there were so many special teams errors that one slipped by, right? Like it was just a calamity of epic proportions. And part of it too, there's just probably got to be something about when these 2 teams play each other that ridiculous things happen. And for whatever reason, the ball has been bouncing UK's way.
It's like the Kentucky-Tennessee series, but the other side.
Yeah. I mean, you think about so you have things go against you with Barryon Brown scoring the touchdown. DeKale Crowder, I don't know if it was a hold. It was a cheap one. He didn't need to grab the dude afterwards. Barryon was already passing, but that gets called back. You're fortunate that Chris Rodriguez, the fumble comes out. His elbow's on the ground, but that review took a long time, and you thought it might go the other way. But then you also, like, you brought up the Ty Asian hit. Like that I never know what's targeting. Like that could have very well been a targeting that they just take out your best defender and really handicap you. So Kentucky was fortunate to have some close calls go their way in Como.
Great job by the officials. Let's give them applause for the officials. Hey. I'll still have to watch Elia's press conference, but it sounds like he wasn't too happy with the penalty on the sideline. Nick, remember that first half? They had the little scuffle on the sideline when Levis runs out of bounds.
That should have been on them though.
And then
should have been a late hit too.
He wasn't happy about the roughing the passer or roughing the kicker, punter on that. So but really they made like a calamity of errors. Like they squib it, right? Kentucky gets on that last touchdown drive. They get it. Only needed 62 yards. Um, they made a lot of big errors in this game, and Kentucky did just enough to capitalize. But I think, shout out to both these defenses, man. Both of these offenses have issues, but these defenses were awesome today. Blake Baker, defense coordinator at Missouri, Brad White, two legitimate top 25 defenses just trading punches the whole game. And then it was just about, winning time, who made enough plays. I think Kentucky just made a little bit more plays in the fourth quarter, and that's why they were able to win the game.
A big shout out to Trevin Wallace, who stepped in for the injured DeAndre Square. He had 9 tackles, 3 for a loss, and a sack. And the thing was, too, they especially in the first half, whenever they brought him on stunts, even if he didn't make the play, the defense made a play, right? And this is a group that struggled to create havoc stats, and they had 9 tackles for loss. Really got after the Missouri offense. And aside from those explosive plays, my only criticism of them can be when you have sack opportunities, you just got to make them, right? They had a couple missed tackles back there that ended up resulting in big plays the other way. But aside from that, the Kentucky defense did a lot. The Kentucky offense we needed to dive into because they won, but it still wasn't pretty, right? What is pretty great is Port Royal Plants. They're our friends that sponsor all of our videos on the KSR YouTube channel. Visit them at portroyalplants.com for organic, full-spectrum CBD, Kentucky Proud products right here from Henry County, Kentucky. I'm going to slap some on my back before putting on my dancing shoes tonight. I got a wedding. Shout out to the Nooner for letting this happen. But visit portroyalplants.com today for all your full-spectrum CBD needs.
Yeah. Before we get on the offense, shout out Andrew Phillips. I thought he really played well, both as a blitzer and in coverage. We saw him flash in the Mississippi State game. He's really coming on, so that is a really good development.
A positive development. Meanwhile, the Kentucky offense, they finally got they finally made their move where
scripted drive. We got a scripted drive touchdown. Start the game.
Yeah, just the third time this year that they've opened with a scoring drive. But it feels like it's either feast or famine right now, right? Where it's either touchdown drive or 3 and out. And you have to play some complimentary football. You got to mix in, just sprinkle in a little first down or 2 here and there. I know Will Levis is banged up. I know that defensive line had a huge upper hand on the offensive line. But it seemed like Kentucky had success when they were throwing the football on first down.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. You couldn't get behind the chains in this game because that Missouri front is just legit. That Missouri defense has got pros on it, Nick. We're at the combine. There's going to be a lot of Missouri players there on this defense. That's just they got pros on this, and Baker's done a great job with this. It's a legitimate top 15 defense with no real weaknesses. They play downhill, and so it was going to be tough scoring against this defense. If you told me before the game Kentucky got 21 points on offense, I would be like, they need to win that game because that's a lot against this defense. They took advantage of some short fields, right? But overall, they did just enough to get it done. The big plays were huge. Kentucky made their big plays count in this game, and they needed all of them because they were falling behind the chains a lot. And so it was you just had to find a way. That's what this game was going to be. We talked about scoring points. To me, 21 points against that defense, it's not great, but it was going to be good enough to win the game. 0 turnovers to me was more important here in this game. Kentucky took care of the football, and Levis was under a lot of pressure. Never really put the ball really, truly in harm's way. Held on to it with some, took some tough hits and held on to the football. So to me, that was huge in this game. They were able to hold on to the football, and that ended up, I think, being the difference because Missouri had a big turnover. Kentucky wasn't able to cash in, but that was huge play by Kentucky's defense. Really just opportunistic because Brady Cook just dropped it. But overall, I just think they didn't play complimentary football, but they did right. They left them out to dry, but they came through when they had to have it right. There again, you got to go score, and they made it happen. So you got to give them their kudos. But really, it's kind of like a program win. Just find a way, kind of like the Citrus Bowl. Kentucky won. You're not really sure how they won. It was an ugly football game. Big Ten West vibes were in the house here in Columbia, Missouri, hardcore. But Kentucky, they playing in the mud. We've talked about it. They're just comfortable playing in the mud.
Yep.
And they figured out a way, and it's a huge game. Missouri had a ton of momentum entering this game, Nick. 2-game winning streak. Their defense is playing at a really high level. That was a huge win for Drinkowitz last week on the road against a ranked team. They're
giving contract extensions out to their coordinator and their head coach.
On the road against a ranked team, and you look at their schedule, they had a chance to really close strong. They get Arkansas to end the year. They got New Mexico State at home. There's a chance to get 3 big home wins here to close the year, get to 7-5, go to Music City Bowl, and really have some momentum in the offseason. and Kentucky spoiled that today. And now the shoe's on the other foot. Now Kentucky's got three big home games coming up, and they've got a chance to get this thing going in the right direction and get some momentum heading into December, heading into signing day. So just the ultimate swing game, and they just found a way. You got to give them props. They found a way to win a one-possession game, did what it took to get out of there. Yep. And our guy, J.J. Weaver, almost made bad beats, man. What was it, 5 yards away?
Sweat out of under.
Man, when he caught it, I told, I think I was sitting by Aaron Gershon, and I was like, he's going to try to score here. I know like, JJ's going to try to get some hands. And I'll be like, he ran harder than anybody else has with the football today and nearly got in there.
Oh man, but Kentucky got a much-needed win. They're now bowl eligible, 6-3, 3-3 in SEC play with Vanderbilt on the horizon for a nooner at Kroger Field next week. Will Levis is banged up. He was back in the walking boot, but he's still gutting it out. A gutsy performance by the Wildcats, and a much-needed win to get the train back on the tracks.
Remember November.
Yep.
These are the lasting memories you have in a season. Close strong here. You keep this momentum moving forward. They've got all kinds of issues that need to get fixed. It's going to be a critical offseason in Lexington. But remember November, they get a big win to start here as a dog. Now 12-3-1 in their last 16 games as an underdog. Just finding a way with 8 outright wins. They just found a way.
Kentucky found a way to win, and we're going to celebrate. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. Keep it locked to Kentucky Sports Radio YouTube channel for more. Until next time, we'll see you then.